I am here with Nakia Gray, and we are so excited to come today to this podcast and talk all about entrepreneurship and just all the things. So, Nakia, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here, for joining me today. I am so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Nakandra. I am so excited to be here. I think that this is amazing and what you're doing is amazing. I love hearing from entrepreneurs, and I think you are the perfect person to bring our stories to the airwaves. So thank you so much for thinking enough of me to ask me to be here.
Yes, yes. And we were just talking before the podcast just about kids, all the things, life, just the summer. And Nakia, tell everyone, because I feel like listening to you and your journey, you have just like a kaleidoscope of gifts. So tell people a little bit about yourself, your journey, and a little bit of how you got into entrepreneurship.
Sure. So, funny story is I have always been like an entrepreneur at heart. I was a hustler as a kid. I was that kid in the neighborhood that was always like hustling, trying to make money. I used to sell ice cups, which were Kool-Aid in paper cups. I used to sell those for 50 cents in the neighborhood. I was the babysitter, so I would convince my neighbors to, like, go on date nights and pay me to watch their kids. I was the neighborhood babysitter. In middle school, I was the candy girl, so I had a backpack. I would have my family take me to we used to have this store called Macro. It's kind of like Costco,
Yeah.
buying bulk candy, and I would
Yeah.
sell blow pops and bubble gum and all that, so I've always been an entrepreneur in that sense. The funny thing is I never thought that that would be my career, though. Like, I thought that was just always looked at it as, like, side hustling. I did every multi-level marketing company you can think of. I have sold everything from hair
Really?
extensions to
Yeah.
travel to weight loss, pills, shakes, body shapers, slimming wrap. When I say you name it,
Yeah.
Nakia hold it, okay? So I went to college and got a degree in marketing. Not surprising because I was such a hustler, and then after school, I was in the fashion industry. I started off as an assistant buyer for a major retailer, and I was there, for 4 years. I was promoted to buyer very quickly, which was great. This is in the Clinton administration when times were so good. When I say the economy was, like, booming,
Right.
it was right before the dot-com the internet was new at that time, and so I then inside, though, I always was told and I always knew that I should be a lawyer, but when I got to undergrad, I was the first person in my family to go to school, so I didn't know a lawyer. I didn't know anybody that went to college. I didn't know anybody that went to law school, so when I was in undergrad after my first year, I remember meeting with my advisor to set my schedule for sophomore year, and she mentioned something about, like, "Okay, so then when you're done here, like, you'll go to law school," and I was like, "Wait, what? I'm not gonna be a lawyer when I graduate in 4 years?" And she was like, "Girl, no, this is a 4-year degree. You have to go to law." I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm not doing that. I can't do that." Right? So I made that shift, just got my degree and went into the fashion industry. But it's funny how when you are destined to be somewhere,
Yeah, yeah.
God will just grab you and bring your butt right on back. So 4 years later, I went back to law school. And when I went to law school, I was married with 2 children. I was the only mother in my section. I'm 26 years old. I had a 5-year-old and a 7-month-old. And so those years were grueling, honestly. I mean, it was a very, very tough time. And I graduated and I started my own practice right out of school. And honestly, that was not my plan. I really wanted to be a litigator. I wanted to be Claire Huxtable. Like that's what I grew up wanting that life. But because of where I was in my personal life, that just didn't fit our work life balance. My husband and my kids sacrificed so much of time with me during law school and studying for the bar that I needed complete flexibility and autonomy over my schedule. So that's why I started my own practice.
Wow.
And there's been ups and downs and all kinds of changes since then in different businesses and things like that. But that's really how I started. That was my first introduction to true entrepreneurship because the little hustling as a kid doesn't really count, but I had that entrepreneurial spirit even as a kid.
It's so funny. I went to school for marketing. Before I went back
Mm.
to school for accounting, I also went to school for marketing, and that was my first degree. And then I found accounting, went back to school for accounting, and
Wow.
I started my accounting degree. And I feel the same way that it was called to me, and I ran from it a little bit, and then I eventually submitted to that.
Yeah.
So now you're an attorney, you started your practice.
Yeah.
How was it when you first got started? I feel like you set these goals and you have like this vision of like, this is what I want my entrepreneurial life to look like, or this is what I see for myself when I start my business. So, how was it for you when you first got started? The way that it looks now, is that how you envisioned that it was going to look? Does it look a lot different now? And once you started into your practice, how did you feel as an attorney in practicing law?
Yeah. This is why it's so important and why I do so much work in mentoring and giving back because representation matters so much, right? And so I just did not have the benefit of seeing this,
Yeah.
right? I didn't know anybody. To be honest, I didn't have a vision. I just needed to pay some bills. Like I had student loans that had to be paid. I had a husband that was like, okay, girl, now I done held it down. Like, what we doing? Right? It's like, where the money? So when I first started, well, what I did have, Nakandra, was that marketing. Like I had that hustle was in me. I had that marketing degree. When I tell you, I was hustling. I was making money. I scaled my law practice to 6 figures in 6 months, which
Mhm.
there were so many attorneys that had been practicing so much longer than me that had not hit 6 figures yet. I am a great businesswoman. Now, I was bringing in them clients. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I couldn't handle their case. Like, I didn't know how to practice law, right? It's like, okay, I marketed, I branded myself, I was marketing, I was getting the clients, and then it's like, girl, the ink is not even dry on your law license. How are you going to handle these people's cases, right?
Ah,
And so I joined this mentoring program where I had to do pro bono work to be mentored by this attorney. And this woman, who is to this day my biggest cheerleader and a great mentor for me, she was the only female partner at a medium sized law firm in my area. And she saw something in me and she said, you are going to be a great attorney, but you really need some support. Like you need to take the business hat off. And it doesn't matter whether you're in law, accounting, or any field, we have as an entrepreneur, you're wearing 2 hats. You are running a business, and then you also have your craft or whatever your skill set is. And even she said, "Girl, you got the business thing down." She made me an offer to acquire my practice for me to bring it there so that they could allow me to take that business hat off, not have to generate business, not have to do bookkeeping, not have to do billing, and really learn and be mentored on how to practice and become a great attorney. And that was the best decision that I could have made. I did that and I stayed there. I was promoted to partner. I was the only Black woman there, but I was the first Black partner at that firm. Even in the back of my mind, though, I knew that was just a stop along the way. I knew that I was born to be an entrepreneur, but I needed to hone those skills. And for where my children were during that time, that made sense, right? I needed to be able to just be focused on research, writing, litigating, handling cases, handling clients, not marketing, getting on social media, like trying to do things to bring in business. And where my kids were at that time, that was the right decision. And then when my daughter was going into high school, we really needed me to be a homeschooling mom. And there was no way I could do that there. So I went back into entrepreneurship at that time on a part time basis. And at that time, having been exposed to the firm life, I understood that the partners hired people like me to do the work. So I had a different mindset the second time around. Like, I need to hire
yeah.
because I can't be here. I was only working part time. I was homeschooling on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and Tuesdays and Thursdays, my daughter was in group classes, so I could only work 2 days a week. So I learned there how I could have that even on a smaller scale and working for myself. So I learned a lot about entrepreneurship, even though that wasn't my intent when I went there to learn how to be a great lawyer, but I
Yeah.
still was watching
Yeah.
how reading reports, understanding money, understanding profit margins and all of those things so that when I went back out, I
Yeah.
had that intel and that experience to really and I did even better the second time. So this stint right here, this is I'm at the 10-year that was 10 years ago when I left that firm. I'm in a completely different place. My business looks completely different. And I never could have imagined that this would be my life, that I would have all this staff and I just approved payroll today. I said to my bookkeeper, payday hit different when you the one writing the checks.
Tell me
You
about
can
it.
when you getting the check, you like, when is payday? When you write the check, you're like, dang, it's payday again. And I've been
Yes,
waiting.
I
Mhm.
know. Like, this came around, this month going by fast.
Right. I just paid them. They need another check.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I can totally resonate with like a lot that you are saying because I created my business from working and realizing that I wanted to spend more time with my children. And then I decided that working a 9 to 5 wasn't a good fit for me. And so that kind of created the need for me to kind of create my business. But as I grew up, like I never even kind of saw myself as an entrepreneur. It was created out of me over time, which is
Yeah.
really interesting. How do you feel as a first generation business owner? I feel like that's such a topic where it could be harder, right? For us, there's a lot of mindset shifts as a result of that. For someone who may be listening, how has the being a first generation business owner, how has that shaped you over the years from a perspective of your family, from a
Yeah.
perspective of just not being exposed to like maybe if you were exposed to other like business owners, how has that shaped you over the years into the businesswoman that you are today?
It's opened up so many possibilities for me as a mom and as a wife that I didn't experience growing up, right? Like I think about just the exposure that I have to other entrepreneurs, to people that are making a lot of money that are in all different kinds of industries. So if my children say, "Oh, I'm thinking about becoming a so and so," it's like, "Oh, I know somebody. Let me connect you with my friend. She and I were in this mastermind together," or "I know this person," or "I know that person," right? Like, that network, and being able to see what's possible for other people, even if I haven't reached it yet, I have, as an entrepreneur, been in those spaces. I know seven-figure and eight-figure entrepreneurs. So, where my mom or my dad probably would have thought that's impossible, they worked a job, they worked for the government. They may have thought, "There's no way an entrepreneur can just make $1,000,000. Like, that's crazy. That wouldn't have been possible." But for me, I can see that, so my kids already believe that to be attainable, you know what I mean? So that's one way. And then the other thing that I would say is it's also shown me like ways that I have the ability to do things with them without the limitations of having to take time off. When my children were, well, for my daughter, for high school, I homeschooled her all through high school, but so she definitely got a lot more of my attention
Mhm.
than I would have as a kid. But also just being able to, my son, he did a lot of theater. So I never missed a play. I'm there. There needs to be a chaperone for something, I'm coming. I don't have to put in, or have somebody tell me whether I can have the time off to go do things with my kids. And so even as they went off, they're in college now. Well, my daughter has graduated from college, but her entire time in college, she went to I'm in the DC area and she went to the University of Miami. You would have thought I lived in Miami. We were down there all the time. Like it's like, okay, we're and she plays basketball. She's playing professionally overseas now,
Oh,
but
wow.
we can travel. Like, well, she's in Switzerland. My husband and I are already like, okay, we're going to Switzerland. We
Oh my
can
gosh,
do
that's
that.
amazing.
It's amazing, right? Like, and they so because I was an entrepreneur,
Yeah,
My
yeah,
my children can pursue their dreams and not
yeah,
have to worry about they have to get a job. Like, she's getting paid to do what she loves.
yeah,
So, I'm just so happy to see her chasing her dreams, you know, and being able to do that. I believe that entrepreneurship was a part of that. It's entrepreneurship that allowed me to homeschool her, for her to even have the confidence and
mhm,
all of the things that were needed for her to go off to school. You know what I mean? It's so many, it all comes back to the freedom that you have, not only financial freedom,
mhm.
but time freedom to
Yeah,
spend time with your kids that you cannot get back. When I tell you, you will blink and them kids gonna be gone. And so as an entrepreneur, I am so very blessed and thankful that I and my husband's an entrepreneur too, that we both have lived that life and
yeah,
been able to provide that for our kids.
yeah. What do you think about even just corporate America or like 9 to 5 just in general? I cannot ever see myself like not being in entrepreneurship. Like,
Yeah,
I just feel like the creative part of me, the freedom part of me, just all of that is those are all the reasons that I wanted to become a entrepreneur. Would you say entrepreneurship is for everyone? Is for some?
absolutely not. That's what I was gonna say. It is not for everyone.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that I think that I mean, I feel like you and I, we're two different sides of the same coin,
Yeah.
in that we know the real deal. We see what people post on social media,
Oh my
but
gosh.
you see their finances,
Yeah.
and as a lawyer, they know I'm bound to secrecy, and so
Yeah.
they I'm almost like a therapist, 'cause so I get the real from my clients, right? And so there are a lot of entrepreneurs that should not be entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
And I
So
know
many
that
smoke
there.
and mirrors.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I will say that even for me, like, in this stage of my life, entrepreneurship is right for me. But at the stage where I was at that law firm, that was the right place for me, right? And I have that tough conversation with some of my clients that are trying to make it just for sake of making it, or feeling like they don't want to feel like they are failing because they have to close their business. But there's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5. It
Yeah.
has a place and it serves a purpose. For me, during those years, I was at a place that allowed me the freedom to do that, right? And that's why everyone that works for me, I don't run a tight ship like that. I am very flexible in terms of, and so the people that work for me have the benefit of getting paid this Friday and not have to worry about that paycheck. They
Yeah.
don't have to worry. All they got to do is come to work, do what they got to do, and they get that paycheck. And there are times in your life where that's the most important thing for you. And I think that not all 9 to 5s are bad. I have built an amazing company culture to where people feel they're delighted. There
Yeah.
are some people who are not built for entrepreneurship, and that is okay. And there are seasons where someone who is built for entrepreneurship, and I'm speaking about myself, where it made sense for me to be working for someone so that I can get better. I just think that there's a lot of that discourse about 9 to 5 versus entrepreneurship. There's
Yeah.
no right or wrong way, and there's no one size fits all. And even someone who's not built for entrepreneurship can gain a lot from working a 9 to 5 when that makes sense for them and where they are in that season in their life. So, will I ever go back to a 9 to 5? Probably not.
Yeah.
But probably not. But I'm also, to even be an entrepreneur right now, I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room. People are struggling, okay? People are struggling. It's a
Yeah.
lot of entrepreneurs that are, like, on the brink of
But
closing.
Nakia, what do you think? Do you think it evolved from COVID? Because,
Yes.
when COVID happened, the PPP money, the SBA
Yes.
money, all of everyone became an
Listen,
entrepreneur. Look, I got this business course. I teach you how to make your first $5,000.
it's so funny you say that. I just did a social media video about this, and I said and Imma send it to you because you would agree with me. I know you would agree with me because you've been doing the numbers. And I said, to for all the people that were saying that 2023 was their worst year ever, I need to close, right? If you're comparing your 2023 numbers to 2022,
Yeah,
2021, In
Yeah.
2020, yes. And I challenged all my clients. I said, I want you to take your 2023 end of year numbers, compare them to 2019, and then come back and tell me if 2023 was a horrible year. And nobody did. For those that were in business at that time, that if
Right.
you started a business in 2020,
You
you're
had
not even part
to
of this
compare it
conversation.
to,
You're not
right.
part of this conversation,
Yeah.
right? But the truth is that in 2020, we had the unfortunate Black Lives Matter movement that was sparked out of the killing of George Floyd.
Mhm.
Everybody and their mama, it was cool to support Black-owned businesses. I got 2 Black business grant. Facebook gave me a
Yeah.
grant. I got 2 grants. We got PPP money that we didn't have to pay
Yeah.
back. Everybody
DEI, the
DEI, there were
diversity.
so many
Yes.
a lot of big corporations were finding ways to support our businesses. It was in the news, support Black business, support Black business. It's the first year that Juneteenth was a federal holiday. Like all of these things happen, right? And so when we got, for those of us, true entrepreneurs who got that PPP money, what did we do? We invested in hiring, we invested in marketing. So in 2021, and in 2022, we were reaping the benefits of the seeds that we sowed in 2020 and 2021. So it wasn't until mid 2023 that some of that started to wear off,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you saw a decline, but it wasn't like I will tell you, Nikandra, I started a brand new business in May of this year.
Mhm.
I in 2.5 months, scaled that business to $140,000. I started that business from scratch, no website, no nothing, just out the blue.
Oh my
Okay,
god.
out the blue.
Let's talk about
I
it.
had to close down on July 31st enrollment while I have hired in the month of August 6 people, and I'm reopening next first. So do not tell me that everybody that's an entrepreneur is struggling or needs to close. I started a whole new business,
Yeah.
a whole
Yeah.
new business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're Nakia, you are spot on. You are spot on. So, I mean, what do you think, in your opinion, the businesses that are not doing well, or businesses that may have started during COVID or during that time, they may are, closing their business? I call it a shift. This is kind of how I see it. You tell me your thoughts. I think there's a shift into there was a influx of online businesses that started to be created in those time periods, and there is a shift in the way people are buying now in comparison to how people were buying back then, which has affected the sales of those people in certain industries.
Absolutely. This is an unpopular opinion, and I argue for a living, so I welcome anybody to argue with me about it. Okay, because I argue all day on social media. If you follow me on social media, you will see Nakia gets down in the comments, and I'm not afraid of that. Let's go. If you want to argue with me, okay? You want to argue? Let's argue. Here's the problem for many people that are struggling in business. The problem is several reasons. One, they started the wrong business. That's
Yeah.
number one. You started the wrong business. And sometimes that is you created a business about around what you're passionate about. Listen, in these tough times, your passion may not be enough to put food on the table. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is that some people are so committed to wanting to sell what you want to sell and not opening your eyes and accepting nobody wants to buy that.
Yeah.
You're what you're selling is I'm not compelled to buy that. I don't want it. I don't need it. You want to sell it. And I get into it with clients all the time. It's like,
Yeah.
who said they wanted that?
Yeah.
You just have this idea of what you want. When I started this business, when I looked at a problem that people had that no one was meeting, and I'm not passionate about this business. I'm not. You know what I'm passionate about, Nakandra? I'm passionate about the fact that I know that it's going to be a multi 8-figure business in the next 3 years. I
Yeah.
am passionate about the fact that I am the CEO of it and not tied to it.
Yeah.
And that when I leave this earth, I will leave that business as an asset for my children.
Yeah.
That's what I'm passionate about. I'm
Yeah.
not passionate about the work. And
Yeah.
so I think that as an entrepreneur, you evolve from that. My law practice, that was different. I was passionate. It's what I'm trained in. It's what I should be doing, right? No matter how hard I tried, I could not get that freaking law firm to $1,000,000. I could work till I
Mm,
couldn't get there. I would get close. I couldn't I couldn't do it. I
yeah,
could not do it. It's for many reasons why I couldn't do it, right? And I'm not saying that it can't be done because I have lots of clients that are seven-figure law firm owners. That
yeah,
is not my $1,000,000 business.
yeah,
A business that I built on my intellectual property, my idea,
yeah,
that is my $1,000,000 business. So sometimes in entrepreneurship, this is a hard pill to swallow too for a lot of entrepreneurs because we are passionate about it. We are trained in it. I'm still paying freaking student loans for this law degree, right? But I've accepted that the first business wasn't the one. It's the second business for me. For me, it's the second business.
oh, Nakia, unpack this farther. Like, let's unpack this some more. Okay. Because I think this is so good because a lot of business owners go into business because of something that they are passionate about. A lot of business coaches and mindset coaches will coach from the standpoint of creating in that way. And when you are creating in that way, then people will be attracted to you and come and be a part of what you are creating.
Yeah.
So I think what I hear you say is with this new business, it may not be your passion, but you have scaled this and can see this much farther than even your law practice. So tell me, what do you feel like are the differences in this business versus the law business?
Oh, it's so good, Nicandra. That's so
That's
good. So
good.
it's really like I read this book. I read this book called 10X is better than 2X.
Mm,
And so that really helped me to see, like, thinking big, right? So a lot of times, especially as first generation or first time entrepreneurs, we sell our skill. Whatever our skill is, we sell that. I know how to write a contract, I'm gonna sell contracts. You know how to do QuickBooks or do a
yeah,
profit and loss, so you sell
yeah,
that, right?
yeah,
And so what happens is you have to be passionate about your skill to sell a skill. You have to be passionate about it or you're not gonna wanna do it. And so we hit a wall with that because it can only go but so far.
mhm,
But when you sell solutions and ideas and
mm,
models and
mm,
frameworks and
mhm,
systems,
mhm.
your passion, you can remove that out of it, right? And so that is scalable. When you are solving a problem, when you create a business that solves a problem, sometimes it may not be sexy, it
Yeah,
may not be passion, right? But when you do that and you look at it as an asset, like for me, my law practice, another part of why I kind of got to that place is that my kids do not want to be lawyers. They don't. And I can't leave them a law firm that they don't practice in. So what am I working for? Why am I building this for money while I'm living? For me, it's legacy. And everybody says they want to leave a legacy. Well, are you leaving your how? How is this business where's the legacy in it? So that was a big thing for me when my kids are grown and they're like, Mom, let it go. We're not becoming lawyers. We don't want this family business, right? And
mm,
so that is what really I started to think about even where I am, I'm heading into menopause. I'm tired. I've told you I've been hustling since I was like 6. I done
yeah,
hustled enough. Like, I don't wanna work that hard. I
yeah,
wanna put my brain
yeah,
and my ideas to work, right? And so I really looked at that. What is a problem that I see? That's not being met? How can I meet that need and not be limited by what Nakia can do?
yeah,
Right. So that was it. Like, so I came up with this. I am a lawyer. I know lots of lawyers. I've been consulting and coaching lawyers for many years, but I know that what they don't want is more coaching. They don't. I love that. I'm passionate about it. So I could have started just a coaching business and said, I'm going to put out another coaching offer and coach lawyers.
yeah,
Well, no, that would not have gotten me the success that I got. What I created was an agency that solved a problem for them. I have a full service marketing agency that does all of their marketing for them. because they don't want to do it. They don't have time to do it. They don't want me teaching them how to do it. They want somebody to just do it for them.
Yeah.
Right? So I created, but guess what? Can Nakia do that by herself? No. So I have hired a team of creative directors, graphic designers, copywriters, social media strategists, and
Mhm.
ad strategists
Yeah.
who do all of that for them. So I get to just be the CEO, and the company can run on, can be scaled to $10 million, and it will get to that place. Right. And so that feels so good.
I know it does. I
It's
can
just my idea. It was just my idea.
yeah. Yeah.
Just my idea.
And a solution to
And a
a
solution to a problem.
yeah. So, Nakia, for the listeners, what type of law does when you were like in your law practice, what services do you offer? Because, of course, there are probably all different types of lawyers that may be listening to the podcast and kind of tell us a little bit of where your business is now and the creation of the marketing business that you have.
Sure. So I have been a business and intellectual property attorney for online entrepreneurs for the last 10 years.
Mhm.
I have a heavy focus on creating, protecting, and monetizing intellectual property. So I help my clients not only, and that's because that's that again, that hustler in me, that marketing. Like I can't just sell you a trademark. I'm gonna show you how you gonna make money with that, right? So that is one that's like my secret sauce in terms of how I work with my clients. But in this business, to be honest, it's just me taking my own advice, right? It literally was, okay, well, what's my IP? How can I put my intellectual property to work? And
Yeah.
that's how I started this business. So within my marketing agency, we represent lawyers from every different, I mean, criminal defense, immigration, personal injury, estate planning, probate, like every area of the law. But I think that, and the truth is, what we do could be done for any industry, right? I have chosen to
Mhm.
focus on law firm owners
Mhm.
because I know them because I was them, right? So that just made sense. Like I know exactly what their pain points are because I've been there
Yeah.
as a solo owner of a law firm. And so it just made sense. And the idea came to me easily because I was in it. I have friends. I'm in there all the time. And I know that they're struggling to get clients on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis because they don't know marketing. That I do. That's one of the things that I knew, but not everybody went to school and had a marketing background before they started a law practice. And this is what I mean by people when I say people start the wrong business. It would have been the wrong business for me to try to just be a coach and teach them what I know about marketing
Yeah.
because they don't want to know what I know about marketing. I want to teach it and I
Yeah.
do teach it. I do teach it within our agency. There is training and different things that we do, but that's not what we're selling.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where people you can get caught up because I love teaching and I love talking about marketing, but would it make sense for me to try to make these potential clients like what I like? No. And that's why I think the coaching industry in particular is being hit so hard right now
Yeah.
because you want to teach what you know, but
Yeah.
do people want to know what you know? No. They just want the solution. They don't want more information. They don't want more information.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are being overcoached. They have
Yes.
too much coaching and not enough implementation.
Yes.
At some point, you done listening.
You're
You done
done. You know
swallowed.
all.
Now something got to come out the other end. At some
You
point,
know all everything
you
that
know
you need
everything.
you know everything. You know everything.
You know
You
everything. At
yeah,
some point, it's
absolutely,
time for you to implement, or something needs to be implemented. Yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah,
I've been there. If I told you the amount of I probably spent as much I've probably spent more on coaching and programs than I did on a freaking law school. I know
yeah,
I did. It's
yeah.
hands down.
And
I
for
know I did.
And for the listeners, this is how I met Nakia. I met Nakia through a mutual program that we were in together that was really to help us to grow our business. Before the podcast, we were talking about pros and cons of business coaching and business programs. And I feel like both me and her, I think with anything, you can take what you need out of the program to help you with whatever you are trying to achieve. But I do think there comes a point where you can be overcoached and
Absolutely.
over talked about with mindset. And now it's time for you to have support. So to hear you say what coaching really served my clients, it sounds like this implementation and just this mindset of like, now it's time to do the things, the
Yes.
action items is much better than you talking and having people listen to more things about what they should
Right.
be doing or implementing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that that comes down to just it's all about the problem and the solution, right? It's like, what's the problem and what's the solution?
Yeah.
And a lot of times people are trying to sell information
Yeah.
and not solutions. People are still buying, even though we're paying $10 for a dozen of eggs, we are still buying solutions. We're
Yeah.
buying solutions. We're not buying things that are just information that don't really solve a problem. And so I think that the business owners who get that will be fine.
Yeah.
And we are doing fine, right? Like it's just when you compare it to those what will go down in history as the golden years of entrepreneurship. I think 15 years from now, we will look back at that
Yeah.
2020, 2021, and
Yeah.
even into 2022, where people will say, man, remember those days? There was something, but it's not sustainable. It's not from an economic standpoint healthy. It's just not the way the world works. And anyone who's been in entrepreneurship will tell you what we saw there, that was just unheard of, unprecedented, and will probably never happen again. Hopefully won't happen again, to be honest. I mean, there were downsides to it too, but that was just not realistic.
I just thought about this, Nakia, especially considering that you have such a like on your TikTok. And you all, I'm going to drop all of Nakia's things like in the show notes so that you all can follow her and know where she is on social media. But another thing that I thought about when you were talking about that is during that time, Nakia, that 2021, 2022, 2023, the rise of complex social media started. At least that's what I call it. The reels,
Yes.
video.
TikTok. Oh my goodness.
Yes,
Yes.
video. The rise of video has grown during that time. And I think that is also a part. I think this time period will also be unprecedented as a result of the shift in marketing has really up leveled as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's hard for a lot of people, right? I run an agency of lawyers, and many of them are like, I'm not getting on camera. They're not doing it. They're like, I'm not doing it. They're not doing it.
How do you feel about it? Do you think it's needed where people are? What are your thoughts on
I I
social
truly
media?
don't. Yeah, I don't think it's needed. I think that long before social media came on the scene, businesses were successful. I
Yeah,
think that there are lots of marketing strategies that you can do that don't involve singing and dancing and trending sounds.
yeah,
And I love it, but it comes natural to me. And so, like within our agency, we don't force our clients to do video. And we have many clients that just refuse to do it. So we just don't. You can create, there's faceless videos. We create a lot of faceless videos for our clients
mm,
because some people, like that's better than you being uncomfortable. If you're not comfortable there, it's gonna show, people are not gonna resonate, it's just not gonna work. So I think that there are lots of people that are successful who don't do social media, but you gotta find the right marketing strategy for you to communicate the solution to the problem that you have for a group of people. And if it's TikTok, great, and if it's not, it can be something else. I just don't think people should force themselves into that if it's just not like a natural thing for you.
yeah, yeah, I hear you. No, this is good. Any mindset shifts that you've learned along the way that you feel has helped you along your journey that you can share? I feel like one for me definitely is progress over perfection, just doing it. even if it doesn't look perfect, what are some mindset shifts, even if it's just one that you can think of that have that has helped you transform as a ever evolving, like just as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think one, and I've touched on this a little bit, was just deciding why I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I know people say like cliche, like, what's your why? Right. And so when I really took the time to define that and sit with it for a while, and I know that my why is all about legacy, that is where the light bulb came on that the law practice wasn't a legacy business. And so that is where I was able to separate from this passion. And this is what I really want to do. This is what I've got my degree in, to what can my great grandchildren talk about, right? When I started to have that conversation, I started to look at business differently. And so that's one shift that I made. And now I see it all the time. I like, there's a bunch of businesses. Now I see why there are people that have multi-million dollar businesses, because they see opportunities. They're not tied to it from a emotional standpoint. That's why you see people that have laundromats that make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Nobody is saying, "I'm starting a laundromat. I'm so passionate about that." No, it's a solution that will never go away. It's a great business to start, right? So I'm starting to see things through the entrepreneurial eyes
Yeah.
of and how that ties to my why about legacy and being financially free. So that's one. And the second one is that I already have everything that I need to be successful. For years, Nakandra, I have felt not believing in myself, not having the confidence, hiring people that I didn't need to hire, partnering with people that I didn't need to partner with because I felt deficient in some way, paying coaches that I did not need to be paying, like all of those things. My lack of confidence cost me a lot. So I've done a lot of work on that and understanding that I already have it. I am smart, and more than smart, I am resourceful.
Yeah.
So I can do anything. And whatever I can't do, I'm resourceful enough to find somebody that
Yeah.
can do it for me. But
Yeah.
I don't have to leech on to
Yeah.
someone else's coattail
Yeah.
for the validation. And that has been so freeing. And part of that comes in your just in your 40s and getting older. I can remember Oprah seeing an episode of Oprah when I was younger, and she talked about like this switch that happens when you turn
Yeah.
40. And it's
Yeah.
so true because you
Yeah.
start to just be like, you
I
know
don't
what?
care. Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What would you say to other entrepreneurs that are in that space right now that feel like they are everything you just said? I can resonate with that. I went through a period where I felt like I had to consume to get enough confidence to sell my business, sell my services. And for the longest time, I didn't even market on my personal Facebook because all my family was over there, all my friends were over there. And I had this disconnect between Nakandra, the person that was self employed in the businesswoman, and Nakandra, the person that you went to college with, or the person that you went to high school with, or your cousin, right?
Right.
And I had this hard time trying to evolve publicly. And so, for the longest, I didn't even market really on my social media because of that. And oh, it took me years to get over that. And
Mm.
so, for you, yeah, it took me years to get over that. And I feel like that piece is a lot of the reasons why we consume so much, and
Yes.
it's just because it's just kinda like what's that book, The Outliers, that talk about the rule, like the number of hours that you have to put in to master something. It almost takes this repetitiveness that goes into your head until it solidifies, listen, I got it, I own it. I don't need to hear anybody else tell me what's already in me. So if someone is out there that is kind of struggling in that same sense, where did you start to heal that? Or at some point, was it just a repetitiveness that you just finally realized with time, to your point? Or
Yeah.
is there something or resource that you could give to someone that can help them if they're in that space?
That's such a great question, and I would say it's so simple, it's just a decision. There's not a resource. You have to just make the decision that, and for me, it was, I am not buying another thing.
Mhm,
I'm not buying another thing. I'm just gonna make that decision and sit with that
mhm.
for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, a week, 2 weeks, and start to just tell yourself the affirmations of, "I am enough.
Mhm,
I know enough.
mhm.
I can do this. If I get stuck, I will figure that out then."
Yeah.
And when you make that decision, like, just those, it's that simple, because where we get caught up is we're looking at 12 steps ahead instead of what's the first step? What's the next step? What's the next step? And we're so afraid of the failure. So when you make the decision, and the truth is, even after you pay the coach, buy the resource, do the program, you're still going to have the fear. There's no coach. I ain't met them yet. And I done spent a lot on a lot of them. There is no coach, there is no program, there is no book, there
Yes.
is no pastor, there is no husband, there is no nobody that can remove fear from you. There is none. There
Mm,
is none. So even if you pay and
yeah.
do it 6 months from now, you do the 1-year program, you go back to school, when it's time to do the thing, you're still gonna have the fear.
Yeah,
You're still gonna have the fear.
that's
You
so
are
good.
still going to have the fear. So commit to doing it scared and
Yeah,
just do it.
yeah. Okay. So as
Mhm.
we wrap up, I ask this to everyone that comes on the podcast, but Nakia, tell us, how is your work-life balance as a entrepreneur, as a mother, as a husband? What does that look like for you? I'm sure now that you're an empty nester, that it
Yeah.
has transformed for you
It
from
has.
you being an entrepreneur when they were babies to
Yes.
now. So, how does your work life balance look like now? Because so many people get into business to have freedom and flexibility, and then they have none because the business
Yeah.
grows. It just
Yes.
looks different. Some of it looks great, some of it look bad. How does your work life balance look now, and how's that transformed over the years?
Yes. So I will say I'm very big. I've said this several times, on different seasons, and I believe that there is a season for everything. I am in a sowing season right now. I'm not in a reaping season. I am sowing seeds that I and my family will reap in 2025, 2026, and beyond. So I've already committed that in my mind, and communicated that to my husband and to my children. I have not been on a plane this year. I have not taken 1 day off this year. That
Mm,
is a sacrifice that I am willing to do because of where I'm going. So that's number 1, is that define that rule for yourself. So for me, work-life balance, and my husband is in a sewing season as well, is that we work 7 days a week.
mm,
But we shut it down. We have dinner together. We may go out once every couple of weeks. We're very conscious about our spending right now. That's just where it is today. Now, if you invite me back next year on this same day, I will be in a different place.
yeah,
But right now, I'm hustling. I
yeah.
am sewing. I'm in a sewing season. And so there's not much work-life balance. I'm saying no to so many things.
Oh my
No,
god.
I can't go to your bridal shower. No, I cannot come to your kids' graduation cookout. No, I cannot. No, 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 no. And I am working. I am
Mhm.
working. I am building. I'm running 2 businesses right now because I still do have my law firm, and I'm building another business. And I'm also becoming a content creator. So I'm recording TikToks. I am in the TikTok Creator Rewards program. I was just invited to Amazon Influencer. I've
Good
got,
Morning
like I said,
America. Yeah,
I was
Good
on Good
Morning
Morning America last
America.
week. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm an influencer now. So I
Yes.
don't have time.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
tell people how they can find you. Where do you want people to find you on social media?
Absolutely. Okay, so if you are a lawyer and you love seeing things about marketing and growing your law practice, you should follow my agency's Instagram. It's makeitrain.online and the website is makeitrainonline.co. If you just like me and you wanna just hang out with me, I spend a lot of time on social media. You can find me on my most used platforms right now are Threads. I'm on Threads all day long, talking and arguing and, like, being myself. Threads and Instagram at Nakia Gray ESQ, and then on TikTok, I spend a lot of time on TikTok as well, and on TikTok, I am Level Up with Nakia, and so that's where you can find me. Please come over, say hi. And I just love social media. So I'm a social media person. So that's where you'll find me. And I'm the same person in all those places, but I talk about different things. Threads is really where I do a lot of talk about politics and women's basketball, football. I'm a baller mom. Both of my kids play ball. And so their WNBA threads is like where I do a lot of posting about the WNBA and women's basketball because I have a daughter who does that. So it's just so, it's a great place for a
Yeah.
lot of conversations around that. And then of course we have all the election stuff. So I talk a lot about that. And then on TikTok, I get to show a lot more of my personality because that's video.
Yeah.
On Threads, it's just text. It's just my thoughts, my random thoughts, my rants, and all that stuff, and me arguing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, Imma argue.
Well, you all follow Nakia. She has given you all some wonderful resources, and I'm going to link them all in the show notes. Her website, how you can find her on Threads, how you can find her on TikTok, and all of the other social media handles and websites as well. Nakia, thank you so much for coming on to
Thank
the
you.
podcast. I feel like you dropped really a lot of jewels for a lot of entrepreneurs, even just entrepreneurs in general, attorneys, and just about the journey. So I appreciate you coming on here, and I feel like a lot of people will benefit. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
We will see you in the next episode of the Exceptional Business Podcast. So thank you so much, you all. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to the House of CEO podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who would benefit from these insights. For more updates and resources, follow me on social media or visit nakandramoran.com. Remember, success is yours to define. Keep building a business and life that reflect who you truly are. Until next time, take care.